Welcome to the Maverick podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Rose. A big hello to all the Mavericks out there, the free spirits, the independent thinkers. I'm so glad you could join us today. We have a great, wonderful guest. We welcome back Pam Gregory, fabulous astrologer, good friend and colleague. And we have a really interesting topic today. So first, welcome, Pam. Come on board.
Thank you, Kathy. It's always an absolute joy to be with you and spend time with you. I don't spend enough time with you, actually, so it's always wonderful to connect. And I love your work, love your teaching, love the way you set the bar so high for our subject.
Well, I feel the same way about you. So here we are, and we are going to discuss today Neptune transits and solar arcs when people receive the Neptunian energy. We're going to talk about how you can use it therapeutically, what you can expect, how you can move it from the fuzzy feeling to the highest level. And Pam and I are both going through powerful Neptune transits right now, and both of us are receiving a Neptune solar arc. So here we are, both sharing this double whammy from Neptune, intense in our life right now. So I look forward to talking to you about this.
Wonderful. So do I, Kathy. I'm sure it'll be inspired. I have a memory of you some years ago on a very important Neptune transit. That's when you began your mandalas.
Exactly. And all the art you see behind me, and even the pillow is my artwork. That all started because of a Neptune transit and solar arc, very similar to what I have going on right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So look how inspiring it can be.
Well, and one of the things that can manifest due to Neptunian influence is heightened creativity. It's like creativity presses forward and needs to manifest. Are you feeling that?
Yes, very much. And people keep telling me they can see a third book in my aura that is waiting to manifest. Gee, thanks. But yes, something is bubbling and fermenting for sure. And I think different people will be drawn to different types of creativity. I mean, you're very visual, Kathy, so it may be music, it may be poetry, art, writing, whatever it is. Just see what draws you at this time, I'd say.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, I vividly recall back when Noel Till was alive and my good friend, and I was going through the Neptune transit, what was it, 12, 13, 14 years ago? And I was so confused because typically the reaction most people have when they first start to feel the Neptunian energies raining down upon them, typically people feel confused, fuzzy, spaced out, unclear. Have you had moments of that too?
Yeah. And often tiredness because it's conjunct my sun. The transit is conjunct my sun, so the sun is your energy. So yeah, very, very tired, very low energy. It can often be an energy wipeout, can't it, on sun or moon, but a productive one.
Well, one of the purposes, I think, of a Neptune transit is to regroup. What's so interesting, Neptune doesn't want to be grounded. It wants to stay in the ethereal, it's evanescent, it's abstract. It doesn't want to come down into the practical world. So doing practical things during a Neptune transit or solar arc has more challenge. You have to really focus and try hard, but we have to do the physical world unless, you're in a monastery and you're lucky enough to be on the mountaintop just meditating the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. With so little earth in my chart, Kathy, I'm not very practical to begin with, so that's made it doubly difficult. Yeah. But I think one of the wonderful things about a Neptune transit is we are so used to, particularly in the Western world, wanting to push forwards to achieve. Push forwards, that's been our programming, that's been how we've lived our lives. We've always got to have a goal and push forward. And for me, with 3 planets also in Aries, including Mars, there's been a lifetime habit of pushing forwards. And that's really shifted to acknowledging that I have to be in a much more yin and receptive state, a sense of surrender and not pushing, not forcing, and just waiting for what drops in without expectation, actually.
Exactly. Again, the regrouping period. I find in all the years I've been doing this, the clients who are type A, ambitious, driven, achievement-oriented people are the ones who have the most powerful and often traumatic reaction to the initial stages of a Neptune transit or arc. And they call me freaked out. Oh my God, what's going on? Am I losing it? I feel lazy. I just don't feel motivated anymore. I'm not on top of, the ambition, the driving forward. So the type A people get this opportunity to learn flow and surrender and regrouping and moving in a different way. Because I think if we think of this from a Maverick point of view, if we think of what is Neptune trying to achieve, what's the benefit to us from a Neptune cycle? Because, when I read things on Google, things on podcasts and posts on social media, everybody just talks about the negatives. Neptune comes in and does harm. It makes us spacey. It makes us wiped out. And you don't read what is the objective? What is Neptune trying to achieve? And I think that there is, a strong link to selflessness and charity and forgiveness and grace and unconditional love that is keyed to the frequency of Neptune.
Absolutely. And I felt a greater sense of service, being in service, which is very Neptunian. It also blends with my Virgo midheaven, but it's not that I'm doing the work to earn money or any of that. It really is, particularly at these times that we're moving through, a very strong sense of service. And I think there's an urge towards spirituality, and for me, a very strong urge to bliss.
Yes.
Because Neptune, as we know, rules altered states. So whether those altered states are sitting staring at the sky and listening to the birds, or listening to music or breath work or meditation or candle gazing or whatever it is, a sense of timelessness and just dropping into bliss to connect to that sense of oneness and source.
Well, it's really giving ourselves permission to do that.
Yeah.
And one of the things when I am talking to clients, I will suggest you need to give yourself permission every single day to take, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes, to bliss, or to look at the pretty leaves on the trees, or to just have moments where you drift and you space out and you flow. And, it's really taking this pounding intellectual energy focus that we have, especially here in the United States, but in a lot of the Western world, always thinking, always in the future, always gathering information, and it's dropping it down into the heart, into the sensorial, kind of focus. It's very different.
Yeah, I really agree. And you and I both get a tsunami of messages and emails every day, Kathy, that we have to reply to. But often I find myself just yearning. That's another Neptunian word, isn't it? Just yearning to sit flat on the grass like a 3-year-old kid and just stare at the sky and be totally blank and just celebrate being part of that oneness of nature in a almost childlike way, taking it back to absolute simplicity without all the kind of complex head stuff. And that yearning is getting stronger and stronger.
Yes. And Neptune is not competitive. It is the opposite of competitive energy. So it's not about winning. It's not about who is achieving the most. It's not about who's most popular. It's not about measuring what you have accomplished. It's a very different vibe, very, very different vibe. And it's interesting to really try to merge this when you are in your productive career years. And you have bills, and, you need to earn money, and you need to pay your rent and have the money to pay for food. It's quite the task to try to blend this effectively.
It absolutely is. But I think I'm finding that the more I can just receive as opposed to push with my small limited mind, if I can receive inspiration from the universe, who is way smarter than I am, then I will produce, I hope, better quality information for people, I hope with less effort. I hope there's a simplification process that's going on with that as well, because the
Exactly.
universe is helping as opposed to just me thinking I've got to do everything.
Yes, it is a mindset change of merging, receiving, connecting. And that's what I was going to say earlier when I mentioned Noel Till. When I first went through this and I called him saying, "Oh my God, Noel, I think I'm losing my mind. My house is a mess when it used to be perfect. I just don't feel motivated to get anything organized. Oh my gosh, what's going on?" And he said, Neptune cycles can produce incredible inspiration if your doors are open. And he said in his big, booming, operatic voice, "Kathy, are your doors open?" And it's like, bing. I went, that's exactly it. I was resisting the difference in the flow and the abstraction and the softer energy versus the driving forward. I was resisting it. So I opened the doors, and that's when the art started to pour through.
Well, that's poured. Yeah. And I think the no expectation thing is important, because again, that's very yang, isn't it, that we set goals. I think having no expectation and just dropping into that state of surrender and bliss is the key thing here. And I've noticed also, don't try and define anything. Don't try and pin it down.
Yes.
Because that's, again, that's a very mercurial, Virgo type thing. But I've noticed also in writing my long monthly newsletters, I used to be really involved in current affairs, wanted to follow the politics or the economics or whatever, even, in a very objective way. I couldn't care less now. It's just noise. It's just noise. So I'm noticing that section of the newsletter is getting shorter and shorter, because it's just that noise has gone on for hundreds and thousands of years. And I'm just not interested anymore. And it's a sense of needing to go beyond. And as you know, Kathy, and in fact, I think you actually said it to me the first time around, it's I have a strong urge at the moment to go beyond the astrology. And I don't even know what that means yet. I can't define it. I don't want to define it. I'm just leaving it hanging in the air. But I've got a very strong sense of that.
Yes. And what's happening for me is Neptune squaring my Saturn and my Mercury, with a solar arc going on also from Neptune to my moon. And the bottom line on that is, for many years, I want to go beyond astrology, or I am very, very committed to helping people understand they are not their chart. The thing I say quite frequently is, I am a soul and I have a chart, which is a temporary imprint for this lifetime, but I am not limited by the imprint of those planets at birth. I am much bigger than that, which is the Neptunian response to, I am an unlimited energy being connected with the divine.
And that Neptune moon connection must be making you much more psychic.
Yeah, but that's something I've had my entire life. And I've learned, when Neptune comes in, if you haven't experienced your intuition and all of a sudden that sensitivity gets turned up, because the key word I use with Neptune is sensitivity, sensitive to energy, sensitive sometimes to food or the environment or toxins, sensitivity gets turned up, especially people who have strong Neptune in their natal chart, Neptune angular or Neptune standing out, or in your case, you're a Pisces with moon in Pisces, so you're keyed to the frequency of Neptune. But if they've never had that kind of sensitivity, and all of a sudden Neptune comes in and just turns that volume up, dream state, sometimes you get messages in your dreams, or you do shamanistic work in your dreams. I mean, sometimes I think I don't even sleep, because most nights I'm traveling to my clients, talking to them, or, doing healing work, and I wake up going,
no wonder we're tired.
It's a busy night.
I think the thing for me as well with the Sun, Moon, Pisces and the Neptune solar arc and transit, it's really amped up my compassion, particularly for animals. I've always been an animal lover. My heart for animals is massive right now. And tuning into animals and knowing how they feel, and almost a sense of telepathy with them, that has become really huge. And I'd love to do some work with animals in another episode if I get to live that long. But it's that that sense of oneness, and also, Kathy, what you were saying about the boundlessness and the infinite possibilities that brings in. And that's so helpful for us when there's so much contraction right now in our 3D world.
Yes. Yes. And the astrology of fear is pervasive in social media, which is beware, this aspect is going to happen, that aspect is going to happen, or this transit or that transit. And it creates fear of, oh my God, what's going to hit me, instead of welcoming in the frequency so that you can grow. Again, I go back to, what are these cycles trying to achieve? When you go through a transit or solar arc, you are actually receiving the frequency of the planet that is transiting or arcing, and it's filling your cells, it's filling your energy field. You're going to vibrate to that frequency for a while, and you can either resist it and have a negative reaction. For example, with Neptune, many people go through that wipeout, that fuzz, that spaciness, that confusion. Sometimes they go into self-loathing because they're disorganized and so forth, or unmotivated. Or you can welcome it and just take it to that higher level, the charitable, the giving, the selflessness. But in our competitive world, especially depending on what age, if you're in your 20s or 30s, you're in the middle of building your career, 40s, maybe, you're really driving, trying to achieve. It's very different than 60s or 70s or 80s when you are polishing, right? And then Neptune takes on a different experience.
Yeah, absolutely, Kathy. I sense that greatly because of this dissolving of the egos, you say, dissolving of ambition as well, dissolving of drive, and it's almost welcome. Well, I'm finding as a sun in Pisces, it's almost welcome to relax into. You can take yourself off the hook, as it were. You can take your foot off the gas pedal and allow the universe to step in for you. And I'm feeling that in a bigger and bigger way. And I think the other thing I've noticed as well is, particularly if the Neptune transit is through your 6th house or the ruler of the 6th, there is often, as you mentioned, an issue around toxicity and reactions to food, sensitivity. Leaky gut comes up a lot with that Neptune transit. And so often there's a need for purification of the diet, purification of the physical body. And if people can achieve that through detox or changing their diet or whatever, then very often that will spur the psychic and spiritual, much heightened sensitivity as well, because the vessel is pure now physically.
Yes, the body, mind, spirit. And if they are detoxing, they also need to detox their mind.
Yeah.
Detox their beliefs, and in a way, it should begin with detoxing your beliefs, because you can detox your body all you want. But if you're still holding judgments and saying negative things like, oh man, she drives me crazy, or that person, or what's happening in the world makes me sick, these kinds of statements are putting out there to the world. Why would you want the world to make you sick or have somebody make you crazy? Detoxing the mind, especially if you're having Neptune aspecting Mercury, which the solar arc from Neptune to your Mercury right now is inspiring you to communicate all these beautiful things on a higher level now.
Oh, bless you. Thank you, Kathy. But we forget that thoughts are toxic. We forget. It's very interesting. It reminds me of Masaru Emoto's work that everybody's familiar with, because for people who aren't familiar, he asked people to send very specific emotions to samples of water, love, joy, gratitude, etc., and negative, hate, anger, jealousy, whatever it was, very specific emotions. And then the water samples were frozen and the subsequent crystals were photographed. And if the emotion was positive, they were exquisite symmetrical crystals. But if it was negative, they were distorted and ugly and asymmetrical. And if you consider our bodies are over 70% water, what are our thoughts doing to our cells in every moment? And, we forget what an impact consciousness has on matter and on our health in this case.
Yes. I mean, and Neptune exposes us and helps us to understand the self-fulfilling prophecy and the other dimensional realms that we can't measure in the 3-dimensional yet. But, the self-fulfilling prophecy, be mindful what you tell yourself about a situation, because you get to be right. The co-creation, and you talk about that all the time with Pluto going into Aquarius, co-creating. But we're doing it on a daily basis all the time. Neptune opens the realm. Affirmations work extremely well all the time, but especially if you can hook in to the right affirmation or mantra statement when you're going through Neptune, it can really help, because you are engaging those higher levels when you do that. So sometimes when I'm talking to clients going through Neptune cycles, if they are resisting, we'll bring that up.
And isn't that interesting? Your engagement is then with the universe rather than you as a small ego. Mm-hmm. And that's where the shift happens. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed even using the Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness, Ho'oponopono, has created absolute miracles in life. And again, it's just putting it out to the universe. And you don't even have to say that you're directing Ho'oponopono to that person or to yourself or to the city. It's just the whole thing. You're just stating that mantra over and over again to clear the energy around that whole interactional situation. And I found where I've been very, very upset about animals or something like that, and I just haven't known where to put the emotion. Where do I put all this compassion? Where do I put all this heart? Because there's nothing I can do rationally to solve this situation. Ho'oponopono and sort of putting it out to the universe it's almost been like a cosmic joke at times. How that's worked. So it's trusting in the invisible, isn't it? It's trusting in the cosmos. It's trusting in the invisible. It's trusting in angels or guides who, whoever you speak to, that they can solve it way better than you.
It's a very soft energy, very soft. And it's interesting, because I've always approached astrology through synesthesia, through the concept of frequency. So I think in terms of what is the frequency of forgiveness. We can say the word forgiveness, but when you experience the frequency of forgiveness, it is totally heart opening. It is like a deep breath that you get after a wonderful massage, where everything relaxes, where everything flows. It's the opposite of tightness. It's openness on some other level. And when you receive unconditional love, or you feel unconditional love, the opposite of unconditional love would be judgment. Again, it's tight versus relaxed and open. It has a specific frequency. And the other word I use quite frequently with Neptune is grace. Grace with capital letters. And, when you tune into grace, I cannot define grace. I can't even put words to it. But when you feel the frequency of grace, again, I can't put words to it, but it is the most beautiful heart-centered energy ever. And Neptune offers this, to receive grace, to let grace flow through you, to radiate grace, to participate in grace. And we can hit those tones powerfully when we flow with Neptune. Now I've had my share during this Neptune transit. Even though I've been through Neptune many times and I talk about this stuff and I counsel it every day with clients, I've been through my share in the past 6 months, beating myself up, because I should be, in my ideal world, producing all kinds of new projects. I have the ideas. I just don't have the motivational energy to make them happen, because I'm so busy every day with clients. When I'm done, I really do just want to veg out for a bit. But, it's that inner judgment saying I should be doing more. I should be doing more. And the inner part of me going, it's just fine. Just flow. It's okay.
Just surrender. And I think another beautiful aspect of Neptune by transit or solar arc aspecting your Mercury, which it is for you and it is for me, is potentially starting to become visionary in where you're getting, or in your thinking or in your writing or something. There's a visionary aspect that comes in that represents a higher state of being that shifts us again from the mind, Mercury, got to pin it down, got to be detailed, to something that is, again, back to your word, boundless. It's infinite. There are infinite possibilities out there that we don't have to define. We just have to kind of flow into them.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels a very beautiful aspect of Neptune, actually.
Mm-hmm. But the trick for most people is we are so used to wanting to have control and to plan ahead and to get the vision and to know where we're going and to really have the plan. And when you go through Neptune, quite often the plan dissolves, and spirit or divine or angels or guides, whatever term you want to use, your higher self says, no, 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 no. Just relax and flow and trust you will get the signal when you need the signal. Just flow. Now, I've mentioned my son many times, not my S-U-N, my S-O-N.
Because he's a musician.
He's a musician, and he's ultra Pisces, Pisces sun, Pisces rising, 4 planets total in Pisces, plus his rising sign on top of that. And he is a master of flow. And, for many years, I could observe Neptune just by interacting with him. He just knows how to weave in and out of energy. He knows how to relax and surrender and pick up the signal when it's right. And he's a jam band musician, so he knows how to pick up his instrument and play anything, anytime with any group, which just blows my mind, right? But that is personified Neptunian energy. It's like it goes past the intellectual boundaries we have.
Yeah.
And we're all capable of going to that next level when we receive Neptune, if we don't freak out and if we don't judge, if we observe what's coming up. Every single time I, at the end of the day, go, oh, I should have started this course. I want to, begin on developing intuition. I want to offer it to people. I want to tape it. I want to, get my school done. I should be writing this article. I should be doing that, and it's like I'm really getting better and better at saying it's okay. It will happen when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah. And it's good enough. And it's now, it's good enough. And I also think the other aspect of Neptune that can come in, particularly when it's aspecting Mercury, or, from me, it's aspecting my sun, ruling my ninth, or that kind of thing, is there can be a stronger channeling aspect that comes in.
Yes.
And I know that's a sort of natural ability for you, Kathy. You're highly intuitive, and people tell me I'm channeling. I have no awareness of it, but people report back that I'm channeling more and more in my videos.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's something about being, just being in the zone, isn't there? Being in the zone with your subject, with your passion, and being in the flow, and letting it come through. Because very often it's the things that I didn't plan to say.
Mm-hmm.
That I think are most helpful to people, because that's when I let the channeling through.
Yes.
I stopped being so pinned down on the dates and the degrees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of it is just really shifting up into the soul energy, out of the head, out of the body. But a big portion of it is relaxing, really understanding the difference between tight control and the deep breath where you just relax and open up. That's a key part of it. I'm going to have I have right now, solar arc Neptune squaring my moon. And when Neptune by transit or arc is aspecting your moon, conjunct, square, opposite, it's a very interesting experience, because the moon is what feeds your soul. The moon is your nourishment. It's what makes you fulfilled and happy. So Neptune aspecting my moon, I'm already feeling, what do I need to do to feel like I've had a gourmet meal for the soul? Where do I need to adjust my emotional, physical diet, spiritual diet? What nourishes me? Yeah.
And this is also related to a sense of spiritual home as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. 100%. And where do you want to take risks to do that? Is it out of the norm? Are you going to be stepping into a new realm? Like when I started art, I mean, I knew nothing about art, never had one bit of art training. And, the way I could do it was to say, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for others. This is for my nourishment and enjoyment. And I'm yearning to do more art right now. I just don't know if I have the time.
Yeah. I mean, but for both of us, our days are absolutely crammed. I think the other thing that can help a lot with Neptune transits is, for me, it's quite related to the breath. And breath work practices can be hugely helpful to actually, as part of detox, as much as anything, but also to shift your state, because changing the breath changes the state of consciousness. So I think there's some, very practical things you can do around that. And the other two things I think about every day when I wake up, before I open my eyes, I say, I live in the world of magic and miracles. Miracles happen for me.
Wonderful. I love that.
And it's happening more. And the other thing, because writing, as you know, is more of my thing, art is your thing. But I'm trying to sit down, again, our lives are so busy, but as often as I can get the chance to just say, whatever is for the highest good, let it come through me. And channeled writing, because Mercury's on my solar arc, on my Mercury. So channeled writing, and where can that take me? Because I think my best ideas actually come through writing.
Yes, because you have Mercury at the Aries point. That's where you're supposed to be visible, communicating, sharing, writing. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's reaching into the unknown, reaching beyond the boundary of what we're used to, what is solid. Neptune is not solid, so it's reaching beyond what is solid and out into the unknown. And being part of it is being adventurous enough to do that, being brave enough to do that, and being confident enough to do that and say, ooh, this is great.
I walk my neighbour's dog every day. That's my dog fix. And I often go down to a beautiful local stream that is one of the best streams in Europe for butterflies and dragonflies, because it's hard rock underneath. So it's a super clear stream. And there's never anybody there. I mean, the whole area there is completely deserted. So I'm just there. I'm just transported to somewhere that, again, I can't define, and I don't want to define, but that's a piece of magic in the day that is so deeply nurturing for my soul. There's this sense of oneness, this sense of connection, this sense of not having to go anywhere, do anything, for that sacred period of time before I come back and hit the computer and 1,500 messages and emails a day like you. But that piece of sacredness that is just suspended in time. I think you step out of time with Neptune. There's an odd state. You go beyond time and space. And partly that happens with the dragonflies at the stream. And a stream, of course, water, Neptune.
Yes. You interface with other dimensions. And you and I have both had a very busy summer. While we were going through Neptune, you had your knee surgery, and I moved from our magical house in the woods, and we're now renting temporarily until we, buy a new place. But when I lived in the magical house in the woods with the moss and the fairies and the trees and the critters, I was absolutely on a daily basis communicating with the fairies, the devas, the angels, the nature spirits every day, with the animals. It was normal for me. So for me to talk to the moss fairies, I know other people might think you're crazy, woman, but it's like that was just a normal thing. And there are those realms you communicate with. Neptune opens the doors for that, the unknown again.
Totally 100%.
And so when people go through Neptune cycles, I highly recommend that you get your nature fix in some way. Even if you're living in the middle of a city, find some way to go visit a tree or look at the sky, some way to get nature.
100%. That's where you can access Neptune. That's one of the big areas. And for me also, the two broad areas when you have a Neptune transit, and you were a brilliant example of this with your art, Kathy, the whole creative area and or the whole spiritual area. And of course, they're two sides of the same coin, aren't they? Because it's just increased sensitivity. So whether you're drawn to meditating more, or breath work or whatever, or painting or writing poetry or whatever, it doesn't matter. There's no definition in it. It really doesn't matter. There's no judgment with any Neptune transit. But just be open to those two broad areas of possibility, plus nature, I think will serve people very well if they're going through a Neptune transit.
You know, the other thing that I frequently will tell people is because Neptune is so connected with charity, volunteering, selflessness. I remember I had one client, this was 12, 13, 14 years ago, and she was going through the transit of Neptune conjunct her midheaven. And she was a realtor, and she was a hard driving realtor. And all of a sudden she came in and said, I just feel like I'm losing it. I'm fuzzy. I just feel like I'm drifty and unfocused. And I said, why don't you start a charity? Why don't you begin a charity, create a charity, and then you can pour all of that Neptunian energy into doing good work, good selfless service work for others. And it has a win-win because you also get some visibility, which can help you as a realtor. I said, as long as your motives are truly to help people and not just to get that marketing, you will serve the Neptunian energy. And she did. She went out and she started a charity in her city, which became huge. She helped so many people, and it did last for 10 years at least. She gave a huge portion of her life to that, and she became very well known. But it served her. And she said it was one of the most fulfilling things she ever did. And it started with that Neptune cycle. So you don't have to start your own charity, but that vibe of selflessness and service, volunteering. I mean, your videos are free. My videos are free. You know, I mean, we're not charging money for these. Certainly, I throw out some classes every once in a while. And yes, there's a charge for that. But the amount of information that's given away for free voluntarily, which is a lot of hard work, it hits that vibe of selflessness or charity, service.
Yeah, that is so true, Kathy, of Neptune transit. It's very much about I'm not just here to make a living, I'm here to make a difference. And there's a sense of philanthropy. And, you know, I've always given money to charity, but more now, you know, because my heart feels so open, particularly animal charities. And I support the Global Sanctuary for Elephants in Brazil. And of course, I've never been to Brazil, and one of the elephants died just a few days ago, having only been in the sanctuary a few months. I absolutely sobbed my heart out, you know, because there was such a connection with this massive, precious creature. And there's such a sensitivity to suffering. Whether it's humanity or animals, such a heightened sensitivity to suffering that you have with a Neptune transit, I think, that you have to allow. You have to allow it and not block it.
Allow it and try to take it to the higher levels so it doesn't mire you down in only sadness.
Yes.
Yeah. And remember the vastness of the universe, the cycle of life, the connection we have to the divine. Otherwise, it can be overwhelming sadness that just spirals you down. Yeah. And that takes some practice, you know, but it's understanding during a Neptune transit. It's also understanding we are loved. We are supported. We are connected. There is a oneness that we have with the infinite intelligence, or whatever term you want to give it. You know, and at any moment when we need help, we can open up to receive it. It's always there. And that's part of the Neptunian experience too. I remember when I started making mandalas and started painting, having, you know, no idea how to do any of it. I remember standing in my garage, just putting my hands up and calling in the ascended art masters and saying, okay, this is what I want to create. Please work through me. And all I had to do is open the door, right? Just like Noelle said, I had to open the door. It was amazing. It was amazing. But, you know, that help is there. If people can relax and open and remember they are empowered enough to receive it. And that's part of what Neptune teaches, but that's grace, right?
Yeah.
That's grace. To receive grace means to open and relax.
I think also something helpful may be, particularly, people who in our modern lives, we can become so dislocated from that sense of oneness. We get up, we go to a meaningless job, we come home, we have a microwave meal, we watch Netflix, we rinse and repeat the next day. There's no sense of connection to something greater. And so to find a sense of the sacred, to find a sense of the divine in life, even if it's throwing sticks in a stream for your neighbor's dog, have a sense of the divine and the sacred in life, however you do it. Nature is such an easy way to do it. I think that is quite helpful with the Neptune transit too.
Yeah. It's part of the diet. And again, if you are receiving a Neptune transit or arc, chances are you're going to have days where you feel fuzzy, where you doubt, where you struggle with it. But the point is, if you have those moments, or if you have the little dip, then you regroup, you get back on top of it, you take a deep breath, and you open up. But it is an adjustment. It's an adjustment from regular 3D driving, ambitious, productive life. It's an adjustment, but it's beautiful and it's wonderful. Yeah.
I think the other thing as well that comes to mind, Kathy, is one of the negative expressions of Neptune that we can turn around is very often it can bring a sense of overwhelm. A sense of overwhelm. And I regularly have that. Just, you open the computer and think, wow, there's another kind of wall of stuff coming in. So that sense of overwhelm is teaching me just to let go of so much, because there's so many offers and opportunities and interviews. And yes, you can earn money here and earn money there and earn a lot of money here. I couldn't care less. I'm just not interested in that kind of drive anymore. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah. And if we live in the real world, and depending on the situation, if you have to make a certain amount of money per month in order to pay your bills, then balancing all of this beautiful spiritual flowing Neptunian energy with the tasks that you have to get done on the practical plane, that's really the trick that most people are wrestling with. And the same with me, the same with you. We have emails we have to answer every day, clients we have to schedule, work we have to get done. But if you don't take those little moments to space out and, again, drift or flow, little moments, and it's amazing. It doesn't take as long as we think, 10 minutes of me reading a good book, or just listening to some good music, or just sitting and thinking and doing nothing. 10 minutes can totally refresh me. Then I can get back to work. But it's like multiple times per day I need to do that. And that's what most people forget. Do something, 5 minutes where you change your focus, where you step away, or you stand up and you stretch. 5 minutes, can refresh you. And of course, whether you're going through Neptune or not, I think that's important, but even more so with the Neptune cycle. To replenish.
Yeah, absolutely. So because it's, then they don't happen that often. And so it's a shame to miss the opportunity they give us of that stronger connection to the divine, because it's very precious and it's very fine.
I had a client just the other day who's going through a very challenging time with a strong Neptunian transit, and she needs to make some decisions about where to move and what to do with her career. She's totally confused. She's totally fuzzed right now. And I had suggested to her, relax into it. The answer will come, but it won't come through logic. It won't come through the checklist, the pros and cons. It will arrive, but relax into it. And, sometimes when the pressure is so great and the reality is so intense, the money issues or whatever, it is a big challenge to relax into it. And she's freaking out. She's doing the opposite of relaxing. She's tightening up, and she's going into more and more and more fear. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe it won't. Oh my God, what's it going to, and that is a typical reaction sometimes to the early stages of Neptune, until you've learned to take that deep breath and trust, because the answer will come and it will appear and it will download and it will show up. And I can't give them the answer. A lot of people are calling and saying, tell me, where is it I should move? Yeah. Tell me, when should I quit my job? When will I get the new job? Tell me, you're an astrologer. You must tell me. And when Neptune is happening, or it's like, I can't predict your future to that degree. You have to participate in this energy and let it flow through you, and let the cells in your body align with this new frequency, so your behavior changes.
I think the more we try and control with Neptune, the worse it is, the worse it actually manifests.
Yes.
Because the whole issue is around trust in the universe, I think. Trust in the universe, again, invisible, putting out your intention to the cosmos. Trust in the universe is one of the big lessons of living a Neptune transit well, I think.
And as always, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. You're a great teacher, and many people appreciate all the service that you offer every day. And it's beautiful, and I appreciate the time together, and hopefully we'll do it again.
So always joyful, Kathy, and always defer to your level of knowledge. It's absolutely world class. So thank you for the opportunity.